People aren't getting married at an age where they actually are able to grow up with one another because your wife shapes you and you shape her, and that makes you both better people. You know, when I married my wife, I just turned 24 and she was 20, and we've spent our lives growing up together. Right? I mean, now I'm 38 and she's, 35, and that's a long time to spend. I mean, half her life, basically we've spent together. And that means that you grow and you change and you have experiences, and then you bring kids into the world, and that radically changes you even more than just the marriage did. And when Jordan says that if you're 40 and single, you're blowing it, he is cutting directly against the grain of all current conventional wisdom, which is the best thing that you can do is delay marriage until you make associate at the law firm working 2,200 hours. My dad used to make a point about this. He used to say, people would ask him about when to get married. And he said, or how to find the right person. And what he always said is you have to make the decision to get married before you find the right person. Because if you didn't make the decision that you wanted to get married, then the right person could come along and you could just blow them out of the water. You actually have to make we live in a society where we sort of decide the opposite. It's like, I'll fall in love with the person, and then we'll have sex, and then maybe 4 years down the road we'll get married. We've completely reversed the polarity and the order of events. Look at the sitcoms from the 90s versus the sitcoms from the 60s, right? In the 60s it was, you fall in love, you get married, you have sex. Now it's, you have sex, and then it's really hard for you to say if you fell in love with the person, right? That's like the big move in a sitcom now is, did you fall in love? And then you never get married. The fact that my wife can still look at me as the person who, was 23 and just out of law school, and she can say, I see through all this crap, right? None of this makes a bit of difference to me. Right? The person who you are is not the person who the rest of the world sees. It's the person who I've known since long before you were that to the rest of the world. That's an amazing thing. It also gives you the ability to have somebody who calls you on your bullshit, which is like an actual real thing. Once you get, to a certain level of power, people just are really, really afraid to call you on your bullshit. And having a group of people, whether it's friends or particularly your wife, who's able to do that is vital. Because if you don't have that, you spin off the rails incredibly fast. My wife tends to think in terms of the effect on the family. Right? As a man, my main thing is what is my effect on the world? I mean, I literally do that for a living. What is my effect on the world? What's my effect on society? What's my effect on the people who listen to the show? And so I'll try to overcommit. Okay, I want to get all these things done, right? I mean, there's so much to do before you die, right? You got to get out there, you got to travel, you got to change people, you got to do all this. And my wife will say, yes, but what about the kids? Do you want to be away for that night? Do you want to be able to put the kids in bed? And you do need that balance. And again, the differences between men and women are not only beautiful, they are vital. And pretending that those differences are of no consequence whatsoever, and that other alternative forms of family structure are therefore equivalent in any way at all, they're different. They're different.